Hello and welcome to the Unzametsa One Day Africa Mentorship Series. This should be our sixth mentorship series under the theme Career Diversity and Entrepreneurship, as well as personal development. So my name is Ingotu Kaluba. I am a medical doctor and part of the One Day Africa team as a communications lead. So just to give a bit of context, One Day Africa is the African chapter of an international public health organization. So One Day Sooner deals with research, campaigns, and science, and as well as vaccine advocacy to stop the emergence of infectious diseases. So we, as One Day Africa, stand in that gap and help to intersect where we can on African research as well as student mentorship in programs such as this one. So this year, like I had mentioned earlier, we are under the theme Career Diversity and Entrepreneurship. So, and this platform stands as a mentorship dialogue with our professional and beautifully diverse panelists, such as the ones that we have today. So, making turning African leaders and medical students into more self-reliant as well as driven and capable. So, I will be part of the moderating team. However, I will turn the platform on to my co-moderator, Mutale, who will talk about the intro. So just a brief overview of our program. We will have the intro of our panelists done by Mutale, as well as the moderator discussion. So each panelist will be allocated about 7 to 8 minutes discussion, and then we can have our Q&A session thereafter and closing remarks. However, if you do feel the need to ask questions during or after the panelist discussion, you're free to just jot it down in the chat box below, and we'll be able to attend to any of the questions. Thank you so much again. My name is Ingotu Kaluba. I hope we have a beautiful discussion. Over to you, Mutale.
Okay, thank you so very much, Madam Inutu. My name is Talesi Nyangwe, a final year medical student from the University of Zambia, and also one of the representatives from Unza Metsa. And it is indeed an honor and a privilege to be on this platform. Indeed, this mentorship program is one of its kind, and it is one to touch millions, seen as the job opportunity, the job sector that we medical students usually thought of as finishing school. And then the stories that our consultants used to tell us about how there would be a truck coming to pick them up no longer is the case. And now we have to look outside the scope of just our medical practice of just dealing with patients and diversifying. And I think this program is really important. So thank you so very much. Okay, so on today's panel, first of all, the theme for this mentorship program is career diversity and entrepreneurship. Oh yes. So I hope you can see me. So the theme for today's mentorship program is career diversity and entrepreneurship. And on our panel today, we have Dr. Aaron Mujajati, who is a medical doctor by profession, Dr. Chewe Humphrey, who is also a medical doctor by profession. We'll go deeper into introducing these panelists as we go on with our Q&As. Next, we have Dr. Malambo Betha, also a doctor. And then finally, as we talk about diversification and entrepreneurship, today on our panel, we've got an engineer who is no other than Mwamba Francis. And of course, our last guest panelist for today is Dr. Kachinga Sichizia, who is a neurosurgeon consultant. And it is such an honor to have them on our panel today. You are all very welcome. Okay, so can we confirm that all our panelists are in? Inuto, do we have our panelists? We can start in any order.
So Dr. Kachinga hasn't yet responded to me. However, I'm sure he will be joining. He did confirm with us. So I think we can we can just start in any order and yeah.
Okay. So to start our discussion today, we have Dr. Aaron Mujajati. I'm just trying to open up this so that yeah. So we have our first Q&A session with Dr. Aaron Mujajati, who's going to answer a few questions. So just allow me to turn off my mic for just 2 minutes. I'm having a bit of some technological problems here. I think the network is quite bad. I'm just changing to something that is stronger. Okay.
Okay. I'm not sure if we lost Mutale there. So just to pick up from where he left off, we will have Dr. Aram Mujajati to just give us a brief overview of what he believes career diversity is, as well as to respond to his questionnaires. Dr. Mujajati, the floor is yours. Your mic is muted if you're trying to speak. Okay, perhaps we can circle back. Oh, okay.
Right.
Great.
So to address your question on career diversity, one can look at it from different angles, but I'll stick to my angle, which is not necessarily the correct angle. Neither is it the standard of how to look at it. It's not like your academic textbook definition. My take on career diversity would lean more towards your ability and your pre or prior thinking and planning that you had for your career. One of the things that is least discussed, and even when I was a medical student, one of the things that was least discussed was career planning. But by that I mean that as I enter medical school, what type of doctor do I want to be? And in so saying, for me to achieve that goal of being the doctor that I want to be, or the type of doctor that I want to be, what are the skills and competencies what skills and competencies would I need for me to live to my full potential? What am I saying? The medical profession or the medical degree is quite varied in terms of career potentials or career paths. You have doctors typically who work in clinical practice, who see patients every day. And when it comes to clinical practice, the paths are quite diverse. You have the surgical path, the medical path, pediatrics, obstetrics, and even there you have subdivisions. So it depends on whether you want to be a clinical or a non-clinical doctor. Outside the traditional perspective, there are doctors who are purely in research. They see patients for the purposes of research. And a doctor like that would also require a certain set of skills and competencies that would have to acquire in their journey to achieve that potential. You also have doctors who are not just in research or not just in clinical practice. You also have doctors who are teaching in the universities. Those may also combine with research, but some like to separate them, but some like to mix them. You can mix the two, or you may not mix the two, but you have doctors who are in teaching and that's what they want to do. And in that space, also there are specific, skills and competences that are required. Now, outside that mode, there are other pathways. You have doctors who work in banks. The job of a doctor in a bank is to manage their wellness programs. So you join a bank and you are the director in charge of wellness for the bank. So your job is to outsource medical services for the bank. You are the one who is responsible for managing or liaising with insurance service providers who provide medical cover for your bank, including wellness programs and any other health-related issues. For example, econometrics and just wellness in general. Also, you have doctors that go into the insurance space. Although in Zambia, while the opportunity exists, those spaces have been taken a lot by nurses. So if you go to a lot of these insurance companies, particularly health insurance companies, the people you interact with that process claims, majority are nurses, but those roles, ideally, in most countries are occupied by doctors. So if you want to be that type of doctor, it means that you would have to go and study insurance in addition to your medical degree. Insurance qualifications don't take too long. It's about a year to a year and a half. The longest, maybe 2 years, and you're done. And that's a career. If you take an insurance company like Discovery in South Africa, they have a long list of doctors who work for them every day. In Zambia, we haven't reached there yet. Majority it's nurses who've taken up those roles. And then over and above that, you could also get into business as a doctor. Now, when a doctor gets into business, my issue there is that, of course, traditionally we think of doctors owning clinics and hospitals, which is also fine. But you can be in business as a doctor doing any other business other than running a hospital. I'll give you an example. I have been in the transport sector much longer than I have in the health sector as a business owner. I have been in insurance, running and operating an insurance company, much longer than I've operated a hospital. So the hospital is sort of like a new and more recent sort of addition to my portfolio. That said, so when you talk about diversity of your career, that's how I understood the question. What I'm not sure is whether that's how the question should have been answered, but that's how I understood it. I can stop there for now unless there are questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mujajati. So I loved when you talked about different sectors that doctors can venture into, such as banks and insurance. So are there any practical, maybe 2 or 3 actionable steps that students and newly careered or newly qualified doctors can take to start going into those spaces? And are there any platforms that you would recommend that they should be glued onto that can help with networking and for skills development, especially in those diverse areas that you spoke about?
Okay, great. So what should a student do who's listening to me right now, who wants to get into these spaces? It will take us back to what I said earlier, career planning. What sort of career are you envisioning for yourself? Because one of the worst things one can do would be to choose a path out of pressure or out of lack of jobs. You just decide midway, okay, there are no jobs, I'm just going to do this. Whichever choice you are going to make, regardless of the pressure, it should be a choice where at least you've taken time to reflect on, and you've taken time to reflect on what sort of other competencies do I need for me to succeed or for me to pursue in that space. A lot of things will require a lot of, for example, if say a doctor decides, okay, I'm going to go into insurance, for example. Of course, in that space, a lot of insurance companies have not really employed doctors. Like I mentioned, they are employing nurses. Are you willing as a doctor to go into that space and tell yourself, okay, fine, even if they're going to pay me the salary, the same salary that they pay a nurse, even if I'll be supervised by a nurse, I'm just going to go in there and grow from there. Are you willing to do that? Because when you ask me to say what sort of spaces, what sort of networking, you also have to be mindful about where you're starting from and where you want to take yourself. Because sometimes you may be starting from a much, much lower position in order to grow yourself in that space. Because one big advantage you have, if you were to succeed to penetrate the insurance space, is the fact that you have a medical degree. You are very difficult to ignore when you're in that space. So it's about whether you are able to be very strategic in how you're going to enter. It may require you to lower your expectations as you go in, but then you grow in there. That space has a lot of potential all the way to becoming the chief executive officer of an insurance company. Because most of these insurance companies that we deal with, they don't have medical people. So even when we are talking to them, the medical people they have are nurses, with all due respect. The level of discussion you can go to be fair, and I say this with the greatest respect, it's sometimes it gets complicated, and it's a bit challenging to go through those complications. Sometimes you would wish there was a colleague on the other side to navigate some of these complications when we're discussing, say, claims, for example. So for a medical person who's trying to navigate or to enter that space, it may require you to allow yourself to even be supervised by, by a nurse in that space, because in that space, she is not a nurse. She's probably the manager in charge of claims. This is a nurse with a nursing degree or a nursing diploma, but she is the director of claims, and that is your boss. And you would have to literally humble yourself, work with her, learn the ropes of insurance and how it works. But as you learn the job, you will be difficult to ignore, because the level to which you understand these things is way above average because you have a medical degree. So that's an example I would give. And people need to go out, people need to step out and actually go and ask for these jobs, because the opportunities do arise and they're there.
Thank you so much, Dr. Majajati, for that insight. So I think we can pivot to Dr. Malambo to give us an insight as well, because she is part of the team for Unilabs Diagnostic Zambia. So perhaps you can tell us what career diversification means to you in the context of healthcare today, and how can medical people position themselves in the economy today as it is, especially that you pivoted from clinical work to now supervising diagnostics. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you for the invitation. So what is diversification when it comes to the health sector? The way I understand it, I'll give it to you as clear as possible. It's simply expanding beyond the traditional clinical roles. And it's also about merging medicine with business, with innovation, and with leadership. It's about building resilience in a changing ecosystem. The medicine that was there in the 80s is different from the medicine that is there now. We have to build resistance, we have to survive, we have to change the ecosystem. But unfortunately, what's happening now is we have a certain way of thinking. Once I'm done with medical school, what? The world is congested. So we need to figure out or find other ways of us to survive. That's what career diversification means for me.
So you transitioned into a business-focused role in diagnostics. So what opportunities exist for medical doctors in that space?
Opportunities that exist for us. First of all, the first opportunity I can give is health startups. We have funds everywhere. We are in a digital era. Imagine what would happen if we actually had digital health on the palm of our hands. But unfortunately, because we as doctors are not leading to expanding and using AI to benefit us, this is one aspect in Africa that is not being pushed. So one of the places you can go is digital health startups. Secondly, it's also about, you know, in Zambia, every time you see something is formed, for example, there's a new machine that has been introduced, the first thing you think is, this is coming from China. They are using the same medicine that we are learning. So imagine if we were to have something like jets, but at medicine level, we're able to use the knowledge that we have to make our lives better. Right now, when you're doing a prostate examination, you have to put your hands behind your patient. I'm sure most of you understand what that means. But imagine if we're to use that the knowledge we've learned in medicine and we're able to create machines that are able to do that for us, meaning we are taking lead in innovation. We have a gap in that one. Another way we can diversify what opportunities that are there for us is in the pharmacology, pharmaceuticals. We learn pharmaceuticals in medicine. But I'm sure if I'm to ask how many of you actually sat down and said, oh, after this, let me try and venture into pharmaceuticals. Most of you think it's just for pharmacy students. But we use medicine everywhere. We use medicine in the ward, we use medicine to treat our patients. Now imagine the knowledge that you have as a doctor, because you are the center of the health system. You learned every aspect. Radiology you were taught, pharmacology you were taught. You went as far as psychiatry. Imagine if we're the ones leading even pharmaceuticals. Imagine what kind of a weapon you would be. Food for thought. Another opportunity that you can expand as a doctor, of course, Mr. Mjajati talked about it, is entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship does not just mean entrepreneurship in medicine. We can work outside the ward. I've seen doctors actually venture away from the ward and do extremely well. I know most of you know your maps. Did you know that the doctors that are actually dressing, the people that are dressing your maps are doctors? We have Abigail Makeup. There are so many entrepreneurship ways that you can go, but you need to get the skill. Another opportunity that you can venture in as a doctor, away from the ward, of course, it's operation and business development. The hospital has health business within it. But because we have left that sector to other people to handle, that's why you have certain problems in the hospital that end up clashing the entire system. Because we as doctors have shunned away from involving ourselves in things like business. You are able to do that, you can even take a short course, and that will be beneficial for you because you have the knowledge as a doctor and you have the knowledge from a business school, meaning you will help us run the hospital systems better. Another way you can actually go is policy and strategy management. I know right now we have so many policies that when you sit in the ward as a doctor, you're like, who came up with this? It's because we are not in those meetings. All we know is move from school to the ward. But what about the policies that govern us? So you also have to think as a student, I can go into policy making. Let me understand what goes on behind those closed doors. And since we have a doctor in policy making, even the policies that will be made for us is something that's going to benefit us. Those are some of the opportunities you can expand as a doctor.
Thank you so much for that. So what few action points or actionable steps would you recommend students in their final year or newly qualified doctors to take to start diversifying? As we had mentioned, you are a diagnostic officer in Unilabs, correct? So what platforms did you use to grab onto those opportunities, and what can you share with students as well so that they can do likewise?
Steps you can take. The first step you should do, I'm going to give this as a homework to everybody here. I want you to pick a skill or a course that is non-medical and be dangerous with it. Away from the words. What skill are you able to do? Get dangerous with it and see what it's going to do for you. That's the first thing you're going to do. Second thing you're going to do is enroll in short courses. In Zambia, YWCA is offering short courses. It doesn't have to be far. We have Allison that's offering short courses. We have Coursera that's offering. Even edX has short courses. Enroll in those short courses. They don't always have to be medical based. Because at this point, Zambia is not looking for doctors that only know medicine. You will be packed at home. Zambia is looking for doctors that are diversifying the knowledge they're getting from medical school. If you use those points, trust me, you'll be a lethal doctor. Another step you can take as a student is joining professional associations. I know most of us think associations are a waste of time because you're spending so much time studying in the library. Associations build networks. We have La Medsa here. The people in La Medsa are going to learn certain skills that are not there in your medical books. Join associations. Make sure you are there. Networking programs, organizations, those will push you to have the skill that you will use in the next 40 years.
Okay, thank you so much. So perhaps we can have Dr. Humphrey Chewe to jump in, especially on the entrepreneurship aspect. So how would you feel about career diversification and what exactly can we as doctors in Zambia and for final year medical students, how can we position ourselves to be in healthcare today? How can we have skills and how can we transition into business?
All right. All right. So first things first, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to speak today. So when I think about career diversification, I just want to break down these two words one by one because I like going like step by step. I think it's easier for me. So you're looking at career and then you're also looking at diversification. So when you talk about career, we are describing number one, your journey. Okay, so it's your journey from grade one up until you're done with your medical career. So it's grade one, university, you're transitioning into the words after the words. That is what we're talking about when you talk about your journey. So a career is the journey, number one. Number two is the skills. Number three is also the contribution that you put in to that specific area that you are accustomed to. That is career. When we talk about diversification, diversification is following more than one path, right? So when we now talk about career diversification, both of these things, so a good analogy I can give, or a good way to think about this, is that imagine you are a farmer, right? Imagine you have a farmer and you have a huge piece of land. And on this huge piece of land, you only farm one crop. So now what happens if, let's say, there is some insects that eat that specific crop? There is some insect that eats that particular crop. It means that once that crop is done, you have nowhere to fall back on. The same happens in medicine. Right. So Dr. Aaron Mujadati already described something very important when he talked about um, the different avenues that we have in medicine. Okay, so most of us are accustomed to what we call clinical medicine, which is this: you go into the wards, after the wards, you leave, that's your life. But I'm going to share something that a mentor of mine told me. It's very funny, but it's true. So he said to me one of the days when we were discussing just about career and all that. So he just told me one thing that's very powerful. And he told me, Humphrey, your life can be you waking up in the morning, whether or not they've coughed, and you continue. There is more to life than that. So why am I mentioning that? So when you look again at a patient, when you look at yourself as someone who's in health, there is a lot of things you can do outside of the hospital. One of the things that I'm very passionate about is entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship, I just see it as identifying a problem, finding a solution to that problem, and creating value around it. So the reason why I emphasize on value rather than money, I could have talked about, no, you find a solution, make people charge the money. The reason why value is important is that value is what brings in money. Money is just a mode of payment. So when we look at making yourself more valuable right now, you can use several skills. Personally, what I use is personal branding. I am very active on social media. I really leverage social media because I love social media because it has never been easier to connect with the world. It's never been easier to connect with anyone out there. And the one thing that I'll tell you right here and right now, social media is a new CV. The more you put yourself out there, the more opportunities will find you. So even as you look at career diversification, even as you look at the hospital itself, also realize that there is also this online platform that I can also leverage also as well. There is several opportunities out there, and it is now a journey of you creating skills for yourself. And after you create those skills, it's also about how do you package these skills that you have and putting them out there. So today, another thing I just want to do or say is that when it comes to skills, right, skills vary. Even what you know is a skill, believe it or not. In medical school, my first experience with entrepreneurship was tutoring. The only thing that I knew how to do is to study. There's nothing else that I knew how to do. So I used to study a lot, and a lot of people just used to like naturally gravitate towards me. So in that thing that I knew, just like, okay, I know how to study. Let me now learn how to teach other people how to study, how to teach other people how to understand these things. And now you now start learning entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is not as straightforward as people put it. It requires you to have a level of humility. That's one thing I loved when Dr. Aaron Bridgerton mentioned it. You need to have a level of humility when it comes to entrepreneurship. Because trust me, when you just start, no one knows you, number one. So you need to get to a point where people know you. And for people to know you, and for people to recognize the value that you have, and for you to build the value itself, you have to start from a point of humility. You have to start from the bottom. One thing I always constantly emphasize is that you have to lose shame. Most medical people have a lot of shame because there is a lot of weight that is attached to the brand of, you know, I'm a doctor, right? But if I tell you how I have had opportunities in my life, it is through moments that are embarrassing. One of the ways that I built like an opportunity for myself, he made Dr. Aram Jidati mentioned one thing about wellness. Right now, when you look at several headlines, one of the headlines that you're going to find that is very common, and that shouldn't be happening, is that you find that people are collapsing at work, right? People are collapsing at work and they're dying from diseases that shouldn't even happen in the first place. I made the post to talk about the same, and I was saying simply the fact that when you die, you will be replaced. You need to take care of your health. And just 2 days ago, a company reached out and they're paying me just to go there and just simply give a talk, right? And the other thing, when I talk about being shameless, losing shame, when you want to build a personal brand, when you want to ideally use social media as your CV, you need to be very authentic. Don't try and be perfect. People are not going to love perfect. People love you for who you are. One of the ways in which even I met or started interacting with Dr. Malambo is through a post. Believe it or not, there's a post that I made and I was just talking about the current situation that is happening. And it was a post where I just said, number one, employment is not here right now. Number two, we need to put down the stethoscope. And when I say put down the stethoscope, I also mean you need to put down your pride and use what you have now in order to get to another point in your life. So when you start this journey of trying to build the skill, of trying to learn entrepreneurship, the main thing that you should also learn is humility. Learning how to start from the bottom and not complain and use what you have because it's about resourcefulness, not about the resources.
Okay, thank you so very much, Dr. Cherry. I think today I'm meeting my my heroes who had Dr. Mjati, now I'm meeting Dr. Cherry. I just used to see your post, at least you're here. So, as medical students interested in creative and digital careers, such as design, media, and content creation, what do you think they should start without compromising the medical career, since medical education all in all is quite taxing and demanding?
Okay, so the first thing that I would recommend everyone to do is don't wait until you're perfect. Don't wait until you're perfect. The main reason why I say this is because social media has made it easier for us to be connected to one another. It's also made it very easy for us to compare our lives with the people that we see on social media. And because we easily compare what we are doing to other people outside there, it will make us feel very, very inadequate and also make us feel like we need to do more in order to produce certain results. And the dangerous thing with that thing is that you end up overly obsessing about things. And when you overly obsess, when you start doing things with too much perfection, it will take you away from medical school journey. So with regards to you wanting to start and having an interest in digital media, or you just want to build a personal brand, you can build your personal brand. Again, your personal brand, like we said, personal. Let it be about you. Talk about your struggles. Talk about the things that you're going through in medical school. Talk about some of your wins, and you will be shocked at the amount of people that are just willing to help you absolutely for free. So it is also going to benefit you in a way. When you talk about certain struggles that you have, when you share some of the things that you've been able to win and some of the losses that you faced, it's really going to help you. And if we are talking about balance, one extreme view that I have is that balance is a myth. It does not exist. You need to learn how to choose what to suffer, if I can put it that way. You need to learn how to choose what to suffer. Personally, when I talk about digital media, I really got seriously into it in my 60th year. So 60th year is a year where you have a lot of like free time on your hands. And a powerful thing that someone told me is that between 60th year and your final year, if you don't know or you haven't found something to do that's going to make you money after university, you're going to be stuck when you're done. So once you learn that skill, yeah, make sure that is the skill again that's also going to benefit this other aspect without making it suffer too much. When I was in my final year, I had a full-time job. Aside from a full-time job, I was also running my own social media agency. I was running pages for people on social media. And the strategy I used to have is that I would, like from week 1 up until week 4, I would prioritize like most of my work and schedule, because when you look at things like creative entrepreneurship, it gives you freedom to create things in advance and then just letting it flow just like that. So you choose what to concentrate on. And again, I think it's really about time management more than anything. You just need to know what is important in the moment and prioritize it there and then.
Okay, thank you so very much. I think we can bring in Engineer Francis Mwamba. Okay, Engineer, you're welcome. I have a question for you. So, seeing that you have worked through, you've got business across different sectors, what key principles of entrepreneurship do you think are transferable to the medical profession, Engineer Francis?
Oh, thank you so much once again for having me. The only one who is not a medical doctor or someone in practice. I'm humbled to be part of this intelligent panel, I would say. Just on a funny note, the closest I came to being a doctor was me applying at CBU to study medicine, then later rejected. So, and that for me began the foundation to see what else I can do. I really love medicine, so I'm happy to be part of this panel of doctors as the only one who is not a doctor. But yeah, coming to your question, the transferable skills that someone can easily move from just the general medicine to be able to practice entrepreneurship. I think entrepreneurship, like Dr. Chewe alluded to, calls for a lot of humility. And I feel like the brand of being a medical doctor itself can be a hindrance if not well understood. Yeah, because I feel like it brands you in a certain way and society expects you to come out a certain way. So I'll give you an example. Personally, I'm an engineer, but I sell t-shirts. Yeah, right now I'm in the textile business. I sell t-shirts, and you find it contradicts what people would expect to come out of engineering field. So you mean you're an engineer, but you sell t-shirts. You went to university and you just ended up at selling t-shirts. And there is a humility part that I feel like most people in the medical field should also try to embrace, because what people don't understand is that behind that, there is entrepreneurship, which is mainly numbers. Are the numbers aligning? What is your end goal? What's your vision? So the skill, humility, if it can be called a skill, it should be up there, because you really need to sacrifice the first few years, especially maybe out of med school or while in med school, you need to sacrifice a few years. So that is a lot of humility that we call for, and be able to build from that. The other thing, which always been mentioned in somewhere, is you need to study beyond what you're given in the textbooks. Like I like what Dr. Betha said about find a skill that is outside what is your norm, which is medicine in this case. Find a skill that you can take interest in. Yeah, I did mining engineering, but when I was doing mining engineering, I never found it very challenging. Yeah, for lack of a better term. So I had a little free time on my hands, and I bumped into small ideas. I started doing small things while in school, selling this, selling clothes, selling shoes, selling small things. So I started building from there. And by the time I was in my third year, I was making way much more money that even my entry level in China would not afford me. So I was saying, say, if I live here, I've enough more room to grow, and I've never applied for any form of employment since that time. And in just those small steps of building from just the basic small activities, the textile business I'm running is in the millions of kwachas. So for an external person, they would look at it as a small activity because of the title and the tax that they come with. Yeah, so basically, humility, find something that you can build interest around. It doesn't have to be like you know it all from the get-go. Try out a number of things. I've experimented with maybe 20 or 30 plus small business ideas, and each has grown me to have competence to build on the next thing, So, especially for those that are still in school, I don't know about those that are already done, but if you're in university, that's a perfect. You never have the most perfect condition to start out something other than while in university, because the network is there, the money is flowing, and you have less to lose or risk as compared to someone who is out there with a family, depending on you, with a lot of responsibility on your shoulder. So find something. Let it be something that, even if people look down on it, but let the numbers do the talking and allow that to drive you. So the third thing I would also look at as a very crucial thing, I've interacted with a number of people, especially medical doctors as well. I feel like there's a gap in the level of financial literacy, because business on its own forces you to learn numbers, forces you to learn financial discipline. But one thing I've noticed with most working class people is they leave the financial literacy study to the business people. And you find even just a salary of a doctor ends up messing up someone's life. I have a few colleagues and relatives that are struggling financially and are unable to balance just because they took the studies of school so seriously that they neglected the financial aspect. So while you're pursuing your studies, take interest in studying finances, basic financial management. How do you build discipline around it? When you have 8,000 kwacha, where does it go to? Do you track it? Do you trace where it's going? So in summary, the three things I can point to is humility, and build a skill that you can leverage on, that can pay you with or without a job. Let it be something that you own. The people who are good with writing, the people who are good with speaking, if you can be well invested in those basic skills, that can be your passport to whatever you want to achieve later. And the last thing I spoke of is financial literacy. Invest heavily there, because everything you build has to fall back to the numbers. And if you miss up the numbers, not even in the medical career itself will be fruitful enough. And I'm not only just the entrepreneurship end, but even just your personal life depends on that a lot. Yeah, I think that's what I can point to.
Okay, thank you so very much. We'll be moving on to our Q&A session. So we ask that the audience submit their questions to the question and answer section there. So to allow our audience to submit those questions, maybe just under a minute, I've got an itching question. Most of the panelists have talked about career branding, branding yourself, and also entrepreneurship. Now, what advice would you give to a student that has little or no capital on how to begin a business or initiative in just under 2 minutes?
Am I allowed to start?
Yes, Dr. Humphrey, you can start.
Okay, so what advice would I give a student who wants to start business with no capital? So I think one of the things that we've been taught that I think are wrong is that you need money to make money. What do I mean by this? The moment we have this mindset of thinking it is only after I'm given capital, this is when I'm going to start business, it limits your mind and it limits your thinking. What example can I give? Let me talk about my first business as a tutor, right? If I thought that I needed to have capital, right? If I was thinking too much about the technicalities of the business, if I was thinking about, no, I needed to have a graphics tablet present, I needed to have a better phone, I needed to have a better laptop, that is only the time when I can start, when I have these things. I wouldn't have started, right? So you have to start immediately the idea comes to your mind. So the difference between the people who do amazing things in life and the people who sit and watch is that the people who do amazing things in life actually do. They start, right? So even if it is a student, like one piece of advice I gave someone is that, again, leverage social media. Social media is incredibly powerful, even for someone who doesn't have capital. What you can do, and this is something that I've done before in the past, is that you can simply move. And again, it starts from a point of having no shame, right? For you to sell something, you need to go to a place where things are cheaper. And where the places where things are cheaper are not places where you want a doctor to be found. It's places like Amwala, places like Carousel Mall. You're looking at places like Soweto, places like Downtown Mall. But if you are someone who thinks, because I'm a doctor, I can't go or I can't associate myself to such areas, you won't go there initially, right? So what you can do is that you move towards those places and take photos, if you will. There's a business that I'm about to start at which university is this? Again, it does not Eden University. And the business is just simply doing deliveries for students, right? And this business idea is birthed from a point of it doesn't even require any capital at all. It just needs one thing. I advertise to people that, oh, I can get for you these groceries at this amount, right? I tell them on this day, this is the day that I'm going to go get those groceries and deliver to your doorstep. They send me the money because I do not have shame, because I have humility. I will go to Soweto Market. I move, get the beans, get the cooking oil that is at a cheaper price, get them all, give them to someone, I get my profit, right? And I continue building on that. And this is the point of financial literacy that we talk about. When you make money, again, it's not about you make money, okay, you start buying things anyhow, the money will go and then you lose everything. So it is, again, about resourcefulness, not about the resources. If you constantly think that you need capital, You won't look at some of the gifts that you have in order to make money. So the first thing you have to ask yourself is that, what do I have right now that can make me money? And if you're on this webinar, you have a phone, you have bundles, right? You can learn skills. It has never been easier to learn skills, by the way. You can use YouTube. Personally, I run a social media agency. I have never gone to school for marketing at all. I'm a medical doctor, and if I tell you some of the sectors that I work in, you can even be shocked. Right now, currently, as we speak, I am head of marketing for a solar company. Do I know anything about solar? Did I go to school about solar? Do I know anything regarding engineering? No idea. Is this simply the intentionality, right? Is this simply, again, me choosing not to be a victim? Me choosing not to look at, no, there's no employment, I start crying. It's about, again, just looking at myself, what do I have now that I can use? And for me, it was just my phone, bundles, and most importantly, audacity and not having shame at all.
In addition to what Dr. Chewa said, so one thing we need to look at students, it's not like we're telling all of you to go into actual business while you're selling things. Capital can also be knowledge, in addition to what he said. Because, you have all these places you're able to get information from. Allison is offering free certificates. You have different websites you're able to learn different things away from the norm of medicine itself. I can give you a practical example. I'm trained as a doctor. I've never done marketing per se, but what I did was, after medicine, when I noticed there was a gap where all of you are waiting to get employed into hospitals, I did marketing management and hospital management, which took me less than a year. And after that, you create boldness. You need that boldness. I went to Unilabs Diagnostics, sat down with the owner of the company and told him, look, I'm a doctor. Who else is best to market your place? And it was also something where he's just, trying to say, let me try and put a doctor in marketing. Meaning I created a loop. So don't wait to say until I have a big bag of kwacha somewhere. We are not here to say, put yourself together and build a hospital. Hospitals are expensive to build. Look at yourself personally. Who am I away from the word? What am I able to do away from the word? What's your skill? I'm good at speaking. That's what I do for a living now. I can do presentations to anybody, anywhere around the world. And I'm leveraging on that. So you sit down and ask yourself, what am I able to do away from the word? That can be your capital. And use that to gain money and to expand yourself as a person.
Okay, thank you so very much. I think I think I've gotten my answer. That's one of those responses are very very important. Okay, so I think we can move on to our Q&A. Our first question is, how do I get to brand myself on social media in order to be recognized as a new medical student who has just gotten into medical school? I think this is for Dr. Humphrey. Maybe we can start, and then Dr. Malamba can also comment, and yeah, we can have comments from the panelists.
Guys, starting when we have someone who has the largest following here, Dr. Mjajati, I don't know if
Dr.
he's
Mjajati.
present. This is the king of branding. This is the person we look up to. So if you can just give like some insight.
Very interesting. And I, first of all, I agree with everything that the panelists have said. It's interesting to sit here and learn from all of you. Maybe that's why you noticed I've been too quiet, because it's amazing the kind of value that is on this platform. And I wish I had this platform or this opportunity when I was a student. I think I could have done more. Back to the question regarding social media. For me, I went into social media accidentally. It's not something I planned for. But I'll share my lessons along the way. First of all, I would like to agree 100% what Dr. Chewe said regarding social media. We were coming up in medical school, all these social media platforms that are there right now were not there when I was in the University of Zambia. Having an email was a flex when I was in first year. Okay? We even tell girls, I have an email. It was a flex. Now, now you guys are growing in an era where, the digital space has now come full circle. Things that were discussed in theory back then, they are now practical things, actual things. So you just have to have some form of digital presence, like Dr. Chewe said. But then if you're going to go there, you have to first of all decide from the very beginning, what exactly do you want to go to do on social media? Which platforms do you want to use? But over and above that, whatever content you want to go and create on social media, be very clear on this particular point. Be very clear without a doubt your target audience. I'll give you an example. My target audience on social media is anyone who has never had any exposure to medical school or medical information. That's why I do not care about the criticism that I get from fellow health workers. Hey, no, you can't say that way. Hey, no, you are watering the information down too much. Hey, my brother, my sister, you're not my audience. All right. So if you see the way the information, the way I curate my information, I weave jokes into what I say. And sometimes I water down the information so much that it even annoys doctors. Sometimes it even annoys me. But that's what reaches my audience. That's what gives them a glimpse into what these complex things that you guys study in medical school. For them, those things, if I say them to the T in terms of accuracy, I'll lose my audience. So I have to give it to them the way you give a child food. You give them like porridge bit by bit, right? So that as they grow, they are able to grasp bigger things. So for me, I'm very clear about my audience to start with. Because if you're not clear about who your target audience is, your content will be all over the place. Today you are doing this, tomorrow you're doing the other day you're doing this, the other day you're talking about engineering. Before we know it, after talking about engineering, you're now showing people how to cook. After showing people how to cook, tomorrow you're showing people how to wash clothes. What are you doing? What's your so if there's one advice I can give you about social media, be very clear about your audience. Once you're very clear about your target audience, everything else you're going to do after that will come naturally. Because whatever else we do as content, those are just forms now to achieve your main goal. For me, social media has really helped me a lot, like a whole lot. I have gained a lot from social media. Just to give you as an example, one of the courses I had to do 2 years ago was corporate health and wellness. So I'm certified with the American Board for corporate health and wellness because of those things, because I kept getting calls from the corporate to guide them on wellness issues. So I took a course for 1 year. And when you talk about career diversification, let me go back to that as well. Some of the training you will have to do would be demand driven, for example. You have a demand for something, and then you go and train in it. Very early on in my career in medical school, before I even graduated, I did a course in project planning and management. I've also done an MBA with a bias towards healthcare management. I've done finance for non-finance managers because I run businesses, so I needed to understand finances. So some of these courses you will do depend on your career and career planning. With regards to social media, it wouldn't hurt for you to even take a formal course or a short course on how to run a social media platform. It will do you some good. I have been to so many. I listen to so many YouTubers who are big on growing your social media platforms and things like that. So that's also something you can look into if you're trying to get into social media. But more importantly, please, 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 I cannot emphasize this enough. Be very clear about who your target audience is and curate everything towards that particular audience. And be consistent. There is nothing more important other than defining your audience than being consistent with regards to social media. Be consistent. Even if what you are saying is ridiculous, be very consistent in your ridiculousness. Eventually, people get used to you that you are ridiculous, and that may bring you value. But of course, that's a joke. I hope no one is going to take that bit seriously. But just be consistent as well in your content creation. Yeah.
I think in addition to what Dr. Mjajati had said, on top of course, you knowing your audience and etc., also be creative. Because like he mentioned earlier, to say you have to simplify things for your audience. So be creative. Don't do something that another person is already doing. Find what suits you. And you have people following you for who you are and your purpose, what you think is important. So be creative.
Yeah, yeah. And I think to just add on to that, so to give you a practical guide on what you should do with regards to social media, and if you wanted to start, so I'm going to give a tip on what Dr. Mjajati has just said, and to close off also on what Dr. Malambo also has said. So if you are someone now is going to social media, I want you to do this. Go to ChatGPT. Explain to it who you are, what you do, and what you hope to achieve. The first thing I want you to tell it to do is to create for you what we call content pillars. Okay, so content pillars, so these are your guides to what you talk about. Personally, when you look at someone like me, because I'm heavily into fitness. I am someone who is heavy into education also as well. I love teaching skills. I love also learning new skills also as well. And I am also a medical doctor. And when you talk about just simply being a medical doctor, there's several pillars you can talk about. You can talk about pediatrics. Today you talk about mothers. Tomorrow you talk about women and newborns. And when we look at the art of marketing, it is two things. It is number one, getting attention first and foremost, and number two, getting people to do something after you've gotten their attention. So if you talk and you're using medical jargon, you're not going to get anyone's attention. It's about being very intentional about some of the things that you do. And good examples, if you look at also the content aspect and being genuine, being authentic. Dr. Malamo gave a very good example, right? Social media nowadays is flooded with people showing like only highlights of their life. If you want to be truly authentic in yourself, also show some of your losses as well. Some of my highest performing pieces of content are things that I'm not proud of. And it's things like there's one post that I made, like, okay, I'm a medical doctor, but I use the bus every day. It had so many views, because it resonated with people. And I'm just sharing my own story. And if you share your own story, it's easy to be consistent because it is you at the end of the day. You're not trying to copy anyone. So it's very easy to be consistent. And another two, get business meta. So there's what we call scheduling. So you can make content in advance and then you just put it there. So it's just posted on its own. So that way you're easily consistent.
Okay. Thank you so very much. Okay, so we have
I'll
like
just
6
add on
questions
that.
Okay, you can go ahead.
Can I just
Mr. Francis, you can go ahead.
Oh yeah, so I was trying to add something on the aspect of building a social media brand. I think also the thing to note and look out for is don't be trapped into the image that you build on social media becoming a cage that you fail to evolve from. I personally did social media for especially the first few years of starting out in business, and I was a bit popular on social media. But you find I used to talk about a lot of financial tips, and most people started tagging. As you are evolving, you find you get to discover more parts about yourself, but you find you are tied to that image so much that you fail to evolve. So also, as you build your social media presence, be cautious that you do not get trapped into the image that you end up building, and you start meeting an expectation that has already been built by what people think about you. So you find people with appointments. Francis, I need a financial tip, but you find I've evolved maybe start liking other interests. So be flexible with yourself also as you're even unfolding your journey. And that also goes back to being authentic, because if you're truly authentic, you won't allow to be caged in one space of maybe a knowledge space that you think people know you for, and that becomes your thing, even when maybe that's past, maybe your interests have evolved and you've grown to something bigger. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so very much for that, for those responses. The only way to start, the only way to finish is to start. I was once thought. So, okay, we move on to the next question. What is one piece of traditional medical school wisdom or advice that you were given early in your career that you now realize is completely outdated or counterproductive? That's the first part of the question. Maybe the panelists can answer this one, then I'll read the second part.
Personally, I'm just going to give, this is my own personal view. So one piece of advice that I was given that I think is counterproductive is the notion that, number one, of course, like I do agree, like medicine is a noble profession. The notion that you are supposed to do everything for passion is one thing that I don't agree with. You need to make money at the end of the day. So even as you enter the health space, don't really think about, no, it's about me serving. And there is also a business and entrepreneurship aspect to it that is attached that you should take very, very seriously as well. So even as you venture, it's not just about you. I'm a medical doctor, I see 1,000 patients a day. It's also about you building a legacy for yourself and also improving the lives of not only yourself and also your loved ones. And for that to happen, business must take place. You should also treat your career as a business. That is something that you should take very, very seriously.
Mhm. In addition to what Dr. Chewa said, indeed, of course, medicine it's a passionate thing we do, but medicine is a career. And once you are done with medical school, unfortunately, society is not lenient with you. Imagine how much your community has put in you to be where you are. Once you are done, they expect you to give back. And I know you say, no, Dr. Malambo, it's passion, it's passion. You need to survive. And this reality hits most of us so bad that most of us end up in depression. Another one is where you are told to say the only place a doctor can succeed is in a ward, in a hospital. That's not true. The knowledge you get is not your final destination. You are supposed to expand from that knowledge. We need to learn to move away from the word. Grow yourself first. Find means of survival. Life is hard out there. And if you do not diversify what you've learned in school and just do it because you want to pass exams, it will be a rough ride. So, young doctor, medicine is not passion only. It's a career. You have responsibility. You have a community to grow and diversify your work.
Okay, thank you so very much. The second part reads, as a person who is trying to grow a startup business, what advice can you give to them in terms of avoiding or getting over the fear of having the gambler's mindset, i.e., seeing that their business isn't going well, but debating whether to be realistic and stop because there's no hope in that business, or keep going at it because you strongly know deep down that to succeed? In just under a minute, I think we can give the panelists an answer. Just under a minute.
Okay, so I'm going to answer this very quickly. So in entrepreneurship, we have what we call the entrepreneurial life cycle, right? So you start from a point where you're very optimistic because A, someone told you about this business, right? Or you've just seen, and this is such an amazing idea that you have in your head, and you just start and you're very optimistic. So you start, you go up, right? This is what we call uninformed optimism. You are uninformed, but you are very optimistic. But then again, as it is in business, business is not linear, it is up and down. So you're going to find that in a certain business, there's also other issues involved, right? So I can give myself as a personal example. A business that I ventured into, and because of my friends that were doing it, is the loan business. I thought that this is such an amazing business. There is no way I can make a loss from it. And one point in time, I gave out a very big loan. Someone brought a car, right? And What I found out is that that car was stolen. And after finding out that that car was stolen, the owners of the car came to get the car. So I went from this point of I'm going to make so many millions to now being down, right? So after I reach this point where I'm down, okay, in the life cycle, we call this point the point of despair. You can do one of two things. You can, number one, quit and try and do a new job, or number two, learn from what you have experienced and go up. So now, as you go up again, what you're going to have now is informed optimism. You now know the good, you now know the bad, and you now have solutions to the bad, and you can still go up. So if the solutions that you think about are not something that are feasible, meaning they are not something you can achieve right now, it's okay to let go of that business. But if you can really look at the solutions and there's something that you can achieve, I highly encourage sticking with that business, because what ends up happening is that if you start another thing, you go through the same life cycle. You go to another business. Ah, okay, there's this other business, the chicken business. No, start. You start it, your chicks die again. Ah, no, let me try out another business. Before you know it, you just have so many failed businesses and you become very pessimistic about business. This is, again, to speak to most of the civil servants that we have that are very pessimistic when you look at it in terms of business. You find that several of our households, me personally, find they look down very much on business because no, you do this, there's failures, there's what. But that's not the point. The point is to start and to learn, and after you learn, you now use some of the lessons you've learned from those mistakes.
Okay, thank you so very much for that. So I think from now we're giving each panelist just a question to answer because we're running out of time. We have less than 10 minutes. I think this one can be answered by Dr. Malambo. In terms of skills, if you feel or even have proven that you can build a lot on skills, you can, okay, if you've proven that you can build a lot of skills, how best can you choose so as to maximize on that one skill? Dr. Malambo.
I can't hear the question. Can you kindly repeat it?
Okay. In terms of
Can you
skills,
repeat the question?
if you feel
Uh-huh.
or even have proven that you can build, am I audible?
In terms of skill, uh-huh.
Yes. If you feel or even have proven that you can build a lot of skills, how best can you choose so as to maximize on that one skill?
Oh, how best can someone choose to maximize on one skill? Is that the question?
Yes. Yes,
I'll
that's
give you
the
a
question.
practical example. After I finished medical school, like I had mentioned earlier, I had to do a self-reflection of what I could do away from the world. So I realized I'm very good at speaking. I'm a public speaker. So I did marketing away from medicine. And that's a skill I had to learn. Through my marketing, I was able to push for things like public-private partnerships in my current job right now. So I got the skill of marketing. I got the skill of business. I mixed it with medicine, and I'm able to work in a diagnostic facility now. Meaning, even if I'm to go to another part of society, for example, if I do pharmaceuticals, the skill for marketing will always remain with me. No matter where I go. You know, Dr. Malambo, if you take her here, she'll speak very well. That's a skill I learned, meaning I'm diversifying it in different sectors of health. So I'm able to maximize from that. Another skill you can gain that's away from marketing. I always tell people, even when I'm at AGMs with your resident doctors, I always say, look, some of you are very good at cooking, at baking. We have meetings every day. We have meetings, even the AGM itself. Imagine if you were to cater for us at that AGM as a doctor. And of course, when you come and say, no, I'm a doctor, we will definitely support you. That's maximizing a skill that you have gained. That's an example I can give.
Thank you so much, Dr. Malambo. So I think we can go into the next question very quickly. This question, I'm sure it's directed at Dr. Mojajati. This has been such a powerful panel, but however, we are running out of time. So, what specific qualifications, in brackets papers, put you at a better position to work as an insurance claim manager? Which institutions in Zambia offer this training? So, over to you, Dr. Mojajati, in under
Yeah,
1 minute, please.
okay, great. First of all, I went into insurance as a business. So I've been operating an insurance business for the last 9, 10 years or so. So I'm in insurance as a business person, not as a career person. But you have the Zambia Institute of, they are behind there, Kujaku. They are the sports complex. What you call that place? You know where ABSA is, the headquarters is? Yes, yes, yes. That's where the institute is, where they train people for insurance. We've trained some of our members of staff. We've sent some of our members of staff who have not had insurance experience, knowledge to that college for training. I think for now, it's the only one I know that offers training in insurance up to diploma. You can still go up to degree if you want, but that's the one that everybody goes to. And that's where we've been sending our members of staff for training in claims processing and things like that. Yeah.
So just a bit of insight. How long does it take?
So a certificate program, I think, is 18 months. A diploma program is 3 years. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But nowadays, you can do these things even online. You have institutions in the UK that offer these types of training, but you can do it part-time online if you want, if you wish. It's something I can encourage doctors to do because of the way the insurance sector is growing, especially the health insurance side, the way it's growing. We need doctors there. Another area is what Dr. Malambo said, and I'm very happy that she mentioned it. Doctors need to pay attention to things like hospital management and healthcare management. These two courses are a bit different, but complementary. However, there's a gap on the market with those skills. I'll give you an example. All of us who run hospitals in Zambia, we run hospitals out of the fact that we have experience. We are just tota. Otherwise, these hospitals should be run by people who've done hospital management, people who've done healthcare management. We don't have many in that area, including people who run hospitals in government or people who run provinces in government. These are courses that are lacking in this country. These are skills and competencies that are lacking in this country. So that's an area I would actually encourage the emerging medical students to think about.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much.
Okay, Mutali, you can go ahead.
All right, thank you. So the next question is public speaking a skill worth investing in? And any recommendations on where I can learn and fully develop a public speaking skill? That's for Dr. Malambo. Then question 2 is how can one manage to engage in entrepreneurship of various skills and keep the grades up?
Okay, places you can learn public speaking from. I don't know if you know YWCA, just opposite UTH. They have some public speaking courses there. There's also one along near Rata. There's a university there that's offering public speaking. So you can also learn from there and online. You can do this online. The same sites I was telling you, check Allison. There's a lot of public speaking there. Coursera, there's a lot of public speaking there. You're able to do this and also have mentors. Follow mentors that are actually good in public speaking. For me, like I had mentioned, I did marketing management and hospital management for a year. I didn't do public speaking, but I was able to gain the skill by watching others that actually do public speaking. There's YouTube. You're able to get videos, practice on yourself. It's also a way you're able to grow. But the courses are there. Very short, 6 months, you'll be done. And it adds to your career. What was question number 2?
Question number 2 was asking, okay, the question has been deleted, but I think it was a question on, is it is there a need for them to invest in the public speaking skill? Is it worth
Is there a
investing
need
in?
for them to invest?
Is, that, is it worth investing in the public speaking skill?
Definitely. Doctors, we are terrible at speaking in public. We are good at talking to each other, definitely. But once you're put on a stage, doctor freezing, we are the change makers. We lead the healthcare system. And if we can't talk for ourselves, who's going to make sure we have things in order? This is why we have other people doing certain things, policies, pushing things in front, and we are seated in the back and we complain to say, no, things are not good for us. Then, doctor, what are you doing? So we definitely need doctors to be able to stand on a podium, speak with eloquency and excellency, and push things, push innovations. That's why you're doctors. You are leaders. You are managers. You are supposed to be innovating things. That's why when you're trained in all aspects of the healthcare system. So if we are all seated in the back, we definitely need public speakers to be able to represent us. So it is important and it's very lucrative business. We have people like Dumisani that are public speakers and doing it on a large scale. So you can actually use that to your benefit.
Okay, thank you so very much. So this question goes to Dr. Mtijati. He mentioned to say he has an MBA. So I'd like to find out how helpful it has been, what doors it opened for him, and what is. I think the question has disappeared. Just 1 second. Yes, but I think Dr. Mtijati, did you get the question? Someone
I think
was
I got the
asking that.
question. The fact that I did an MBA, what doors has it opened for me? I'll take you back to career planning. When I was choosing to do the MBA, I was doing it because I wanted to run my businesses better. So I was not doing it to go and get a job. Same with when I was doing finance for non-finance managers, I was just doing it to manage my businesses better. Um, I've done several courses in between. All of them, I've been doing them to run my businesses better. But let me draw a parallel to that. It's the same thing with a doctor who chooses to say, I'll stay in the ward, I'll be a clinical person. There are certain skills and competences you'd still have to get for you to be on top of your game. The take home message here is that whatever path you choose, stay on top of your game because then it would require you to take extra courses. It would require to take some courses may be long, some may be short, some may be about just self-education. So for me, I did it because of the businesses that I run. Like I mentioned, I was in the transport sector. I shut down that business after 14 years because I realized, it had run its cycle. I'm now in the health sector, I'm in the insurance sector, and I've just gone into manufacturing. I also do a bit of corporate wealth and wellness on the side, but it's not an area that I really want to push. So deliberately, my rates are extremely high to discourage people from hiring me to go and do it. So I charge up to 25,000 kwacha per hour for me to stand up and talk to your people. And as a result, I get very few clients in a year, but when you add it together, it's not bad. But it gives me time because that's not an area I really want to push into. So I deliberately charge too much because I have so many things I'm doing. And so I charge too much for that reason so that I'm hired less. But the issue is that, like Dr. Malambo was saying, she mentioned something very important. She said, pick a skill that is non-medical and be dangerous at that. Anything that you pick, whether it's clinical or non-clinical, whatever path you choose, decide that you'll be the very best at that and you acquire whatever skill you need. You'll go to the moon and back to be the very best at that and distinguish yourself. What is your unique selling point? In whatever path you take, whether it's in the lab, whether it's in research, whether it's clinical practice, whether you want to be a cardiologist, what will be your unique selling point? And you really have to push the envelope as far as you can. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so very much, Dr. Mtijati. The second question, So suppose you have a lucrative business idea that takes advantage of the current high levels of unemployment among medical doctors and can only be pitched now and requires, say, a minimum of 200,000 to start. Are there any ways of raising this amount of money? Suppose all the paperwork is in place. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, so for this one, I just have one sentiment. So there is someone I know, Mwansa Chalo, CEO of Dunia Healthcare. So one thing he emphasizes that for us healthcare personnel, we have brilliant ideas that answer so many questions except one. How is it going to make money? So if that idea, because like with most ideas in healthcare space, you're thinking of alleviating unemployment crisis, but realistically, how is it going to make money? If you can answer that question directly, I think it's easier to look for funding. Yeah, so I think lean more towards on how it's going to make money and try and look directly for funding. Pitch yourself, like I said, be very incredibly shameless. Even now, you can pitch it to Dr. Mjajat or Dr. Malambo.
Oh,
So I
Okay.
think we'll have
Uh,
a question. Mutale, let's have one more question. We are a little bit behind on time. So, yeah, you can go ahead with one more question.
okay, so this is the final question. What deliberate decision should someone take in order to succeed in their career?
repeat the question again. What?
What deliberate decision should someone take in order to succeed in their career?
Career in medicine?
I think at this point, in anything that they decide to do, either in medicine, engineering, even the same entrepreneurship, I think they're asking about
Ah,
that.
okay. The first thing you have to do, like we've been mentioning, I think most of the doctors have mentioned it, is be bored. Be bored and be ready to walk a path that no one else has ever walked. I'm the first trade business officer, Unilabs Diagnostics. They've never employed the doctor in marketing because they wanted somebody with a degree or a PhD in business admin. But I was bored enough to take that role. And I had to learn in every, you have to learn at every segment. Oh, this is how they do things here. Like Dr. Chewe said, be humble, be bored, and have the right information. These three will push you. In addition, professional growth, very important, because a degree will take you to a place, will open doors for you, but your professional growth will keep you there. Know how to interact, know how to communicate. This is where even your public speaking skills are also added on top. Be bored, one, students. Number two, professional growth. Number three, academic growth is also important. Make sure your knowledge is at par. And number four, clinical skills also. So be bold, be ready to walk a path that nobody else has walked before. And you open doors for even the junior doctors that are coming before you. That will help you.
Okay, thank you so very much. I think this panel was meant for me. I don't know about the others, but I appreciate all the insights that have been given by the panel. It has been such a great honor to have been part of this discussion today. And to our panelists, thank you so very much for your insights, for your knowledge. I think the people that have attended this webinar will not go back the same. Okay, so at this moment in time, allow me to call upon Zakaria Kapuko to give us the closing remarks.
Yes, I think just to quickly wrap things up, first I want to say thank you very much to our wonderful panelists that made the time to engage with the audience, the students, and I think the conversation was very, very informative and loaded with a lot of experience, which I think for mentorship series, I think that's always been our target, has always been our objective to try and bring together the people who need the experience and people who've walked the path so as to speak from a position of, lived experiences, as it were. And I think lots of lessons have been shared here. I can imagine that people go out of this meeting or this webinar with a lot to ponder and hopefully a lot to try and apply, from adaptability, flexibility, knowing, your passion and all these things. I think for me, one thing that stands out very, very significantly from everything that has been said, and maybe something that should also be emphasized, I think as medical students or people who are pursuing the medical practice, there's a lot of network potential that exists, almost exclusive. And I think maybe it's also a good opportunity to begin to tap into that network. Sometimes if you're looking for capital, what you cannot manage to raise alone, for example, among 5 people who are maybe your classmates or your friends, a business can start. And sometimes I think maybe the danger is we always want to make it alone or want to start alone, but there's also, I think, great potential in collaborations and partnerships. And not to keep going on what has already been mentioned, just once again to reiterate that as an organization, we value these mentorship series, and we'll continue to work together with student bodies to try and make these available, because we believe that by creating a platform that can act as an interchange for experiences as well as lessons, I think we'll be setting the practice off to a good start, and we can reduce, issues associated with the challenges that come with, people who are not well informed during the practice when the reality on the ground seem to be very different. So on behalf of One Day Africa, on behalf of the team that has been responsible for putting this together, from Monza Metsa, from One Day Africa, our wonderful moderators, and obviously our very distinguished, experienced panelists, thank you very much. And we look forward to the next session of this mentorship series. Thank you.